Hello all, welcome to yet another live session of Narayana IAS Academy. So as all of you know, this is Sureka Bhaskar presenting to you the daily news analysis. And for today's discussion, we've actually picked up very important articles from both the Hindu as well as the Indian Express, which are extremely important and relevant for the UPSC CSE examination. So as our daily routine, before the session, let us actually kickstart with the motivation. So what the motivation behind me actually says is your success will be determined by your own confidence and fortitude. That is the the amount of success or the time in which you're going to reach the success is solely dependent on your own confidence as well as fortitude. So what do you mean by fortitude here? Fortitude is nothing but it is the emotional strength and the ability that you actually have to control your mind from distractions. Okay, so this can actually be even your courage, it can be your resilience, it can be your endurance as well as determination. So this is what is called as fortitude. So if you actually possess confidence alongside these components of fortitude, that is courage, resilience, then you have endurance as well as determination, then you can definitely reach your target. Okay, so this is what, with this we'll actually move forward to actually look at what are the different initiatives and the programs that we at Narayana IAS Academy has actually brought forth in order to ease your preparation for the upcoming UPSC examination, that is the UPSC 2025 examination, and also in the future. So we have a 1-year prelims cum mains integrated course for 2026 exam and also a 2-year integrated course for the 2027 exam. And here this program actually has total number of 1000 plus hours where we actually cover your general studies as well as your CSAT syllabus. Okay, so alongside with this we actually provide you 200 hours of current affairs session as well in order to keep all of you updated with the current affairs alongside studying your static syllabus. Okay, so that you will be able to answer any kind of questions from different dimensions asked in your examination. Moving forward, we also provide you with a strategic micro schedule, which is nothing but a detailed daily study plan that will actually help you from not getting diverted in the vast expanse of the UPSC syllabus. And also we actually have our expert faculties who are all experienced educators in this particular domain and who are well versed with respect to their subject knowledge as well as expertise. And also we have regular testing in terms of our test series as well as our constant feedback mechanism that we actually give you after your performance of every test. Okay, so moving forward, we also have there's a slide missing here. So we also actually have the Narayana IAS study kit, which actually consists of your navigator, NCRT books as well as the GS books. And also apart from that, we provide you with the PYQs that have been arranged thematically and both the prelims as well as the mains examination. And we have, of course, our current affairs navigator magazine, which is actually a one-stop solution for you in order to integrate your current affairs with that of your static syllabus. Okay, so this is what it is. Now without any delay, let's look into what are all the topics that we will be taking up today from both the Hindu as well as the Indian Express. So the first topic is recasting insolvency resolution. So this particular article has been picked up from page number 7 of the Hindu. So here basically we'll be talking about what is this process of insolvency regulation, whether India actually has. So for that we need to understand what is insolvency, what is bankruptcy, what is liquidation, whether India actually has a proper regulatory framework, that is a comprehensive regulatory framework in order to deal with the insolvency and bankruptcy cases. And also we will see on the recommendations of which committee report that the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016 actually came into existence, the various provisions, etc. Okay, and also we will see what are the challenges that these regulations actually have and how it can be tackled with by taking or drawing inspiration from global examples. Now moving forward, the second article has been picked up from page number 14 of the Hindu. ASEAN tells Myanmar Janta to prioritize the ceasefire over elections. Okay, so as all of you know, there have been an ongoing chaos, or there has been an ongoing civil war in the country of Myanmar, right? So what happens is the junta has actually taken over the government, and so now the ASEAN foreign ministers in the recent meeting had actually stated that the junta actually have to focus, that is the military actually has to focus on achieving a ceasefire with respect to that of civil war, rather focusing on conducting the fresh elections all over again. So here we will be discussing about ASEAN as a grouping and how it is actually significant with respect to that of India. Now moving forward, the next article has been taken up from the Hindu text and context page. What did the ILO report state about the international migrants? So here we'll be discussing about this particular specialized agency of the United Nations, that is the International Labour Organization. We'll also be looking into the aim, the mission, the organizational structure, what are the reports, what are the guidelines, and what are the conventions that are proposed by the ILO. India, whether it is a founding member of the ILO or not, whether we have ratified all the conventions, what are the conventions that India has not ratified, all that we'll actually be looking into it. And what are the key observations of the recent report with respect to the status of the migrant workers, in which part of the world are the migrant worker concentration has actually increased, all that we'll be discussing in this particular article. Now moving forward, the fourth article actually talks about a very important scheme, that is the SWAMITVA scheme. That is, how do you actually map the village areas, that is the land parcels in the village areas, how they are actually mapped using the innovative or integrated drone technology is what we'll be discussing in this particular scheme or in this particular article, that is the SWAMITVA scheme. And we know schemes are very, very important for your examination. Now moving forward, the last article is actually a small snippet, that is where they've taken this also from page number 12 of the Hindu. 9 navies hold joint drills in strategic straits between Indian Ocean and the Pacific. So here we'll be discussing about this particular multinational naval exercise, that is La Perouse, that has actually been hosted by France, and we'll also see what is this particular multinational naval exercise, for what purpose it is actually done, aim, objective, whether we have any kind of Indian naval ships participating in that particular exercise, why so, is it aligning with the Sagar initiative or the vision of India's course, I mean maritime security or not, all that we'll be discussing in this particular article. Okay, so now without any further delay, let's quickly move on to our very first article, that is recasting insolvency resolution. So these will be very self-explanatory. You just first need to understand what is insolvency, what is bankruptcy, what is liquidation. So there are minute differences between these. Okay, so in this particular article, we'll be discussing about the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016 and India's insolvency regime, how it actually originated over years and due to what compulsion this particular IBC code of 2016 came into existence. Moving forward, it becomes very, very important for your prelims under economy, and for mains it actually comes under GS paper 3, changes in industrial policy and their effects on industrial growth, economic growth as well as development. Okay, so when you're discussing every topic, it is very, very important to know which part of the syllabus it actually falls under. Okay, so now moving forward, let us actually see, there has been a PYQ in the year 2015 mains examination, which was actually with respect to the Satyam scandal. Okay, so they've asked what have been the changes that were brought in the corporate governance in order to ensure transparency and accountability. So these kind of changes, these kind of bankruptcy codes and the draft bills and the draft regulations, all this become very, very important. Now let us actually move forward in order to understand what this article is talking about. Okay, so in order to streamline the insolvency resolution, what do you mean by insolvency? Insolvency is nothing but when a company is not financially or when a company is not any more financially stable in order to carry out its operations at a at the pace in which it's going. So the economic instability is called as insolvency. What do you mean by bankruptcy? That is when a person is actually declared of not being able to repay the loan. So that is called as bankruptcy. And what do you mean by liquidation? Liquidation is nothing but you're winding up a company, that is you're selling off the company in order to repay the debt. So that's called as liquidation. So in order to streamline this particular insolvency resolution, because what happens is that in India, the insolvency resolution was actually dealt with by fragmented laws. Okay, so it was not an integrated law, so it was not time bound. The time was actually not specified within which you need to resolve the insolvency case. So in order to streamline that only, what happened is that, and in order to build India's credit ecosystem, what happened? The IBC code, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016, actually came into existence. However, recently what happens, that is specifically in today's scenario, there are a number of challenges that this particular IBC code of 2016 is facing. So this is what we are going to discuss about. So first, let's understand what do you mean by insolvency. That is a state in which the financial difficulties in a company are such that it is unable to run its business at the current pace. So this is called as insolvency, a financial turmoil of the company, that it is actually not able to run its business anymore. However, bankruptcy is nothing but when a person is legally declared of incapable of paying their dues and obligations, whereas liquidation is nothing but the process of winding up of a company, which I already discussed with you. Now moving forward, let us actually see evolution of insolvency regime in India. So India's insolvency regime has actually evolved significantly over time. So let's see how it was. Initially, as I told you, it was actually dealt with by different regulations, be it your Provincial Insolvency Act that was actually catered to a number of provinces, then Presidency Towns Insolvency Act, and then you have the Sikh Industrial Companies Act of 1985, followed by the Companies Act of 1956. Okay, so these were fragmented laws, but what actually was the problem with these fragmented laws was that it was very, very limited in scope. Also, it had a prolonged time. Okay, so a prolonged resolution time of almost 4 to 5 years was taken to resolve a particular case. So there was a need. So the eventually what happened, India's economic system required or needed a comprehensive framework. So that is when there was a committee, that is this TK Vishwanathan committee report in 2016. As per the recommendations of this particular report, very, very important, the IBC actually came into existence in 2016. So this actually consolidated, that is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016. It consolidated all the fragmented existing laws, and it actually aimed to bring about a time bound and effective resolution mechanism. So if you look at this picture over here, so this is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016. Why was it established? In order to speed up the resolution process of stressed assets in the country. And then whom does it actually apply to? It applies to individuals, partnerships, as well as LLPs and corporates. Okay, we will see what is it. Next one, when. Here, authority to decide the insolvency application within 180 days and 90 days maximum extension is actually allowed. And when, here is that fast track process of 90 days is also available for specific entities, because the previous laws did not actually have any particular stringent norms, okay, in order to address the emergency cases. Now moving forward, how is that? The adjudicating authority is, you have the National Company Law Tribunal for the corporates, as well as the dispute resolution, this one, debt recovery tribunal for the individuals, as well as the partnership firms. Okay, so this is why this particular IBC was actually brought into existence and implemented. So what is the objectives of this particular IBC? First one, as all of us know, time bound, and it is creditor centric insolvency resolution process. What is creditor centric? That is, if a bank is actually giving out money in order to run a company, they're giving out loan to a company in order to run its business, then the bank is actually called as the creditor. So the IBC first of all gives major priority to the creditor. So in case of an insolvency also, and whatever the, through IBC, whatever claim or whatever returns you actually get back by liquidation of a company, the first amount actually goes to this particular creditor. So that is why it is called as creditor centric insolvency process. Next one is, this is in order to cultivate a healthier credit culture within country's business environment. Okay, who and all it is actually applicable to? It is applicable to all the individuals, it is applicable to the partnerships, and also limited liability partnerships. Okay, that is the LLPs that we saw, as well as to all the corporates. This is in order to secure the interest of the creditors, including the stakeholders in a company. So different stakeholders are there. It actually caters to every one of their needs. Next one, this is to revive the company in a time-bound manner, and also to promote an ecosystem of healthy entrepreneurship. Okay, so this is what is the objective of IBC 2016. Now it has different sections. Okay, first one, section 7 is important, section 9 is important, and section 242 of this IBC 2016 becomes very important. So under section 7, this actually gives the grounds on which the financial creditor, that is, in this case I gave you bank as an example, right? So here it gives you the grounds under which the financial creditor or the operational creditor can initiate the insolvency against a debtor. Okay, for example, if company X is actually borrowing money from me, then what happens? What are the grounds based on which, in case the X actually defaults, what are the grounds based on which I can actually initiate an insolvency case? So all the grounds are actually given under section 7. What do you mean by financial creditor and operational creditor? Financial creditor is nothing but these are a group of people or institutions that have financial contract with a business. So it can either be loan, it can be debt securities, etc. Okay. Moving forward, who are these operational creditors? So these are also people or they are institutions that provide goods and services for a particular business. Okay, and they are actually paid for the services that, for the goods and services that they actually provide for a company. Now, what does section 9 say? This actually provides for the process for initiating the insolvency proceeding by an operational creditor. Next one, section 242, this empowers the central government in order to issue regulations for the implementation of IBC. So we saw what is IBC, how it actually originated, what are the different sections under IBC, and what is the amount of power or the authority it actually gives to the central government to issue the guidelines for or regulations for implementations of the IBC. Okay, so now moving forward, let us actually see what are the governing bodies and adjudicating authorities. So of course, the governing body is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. As you see, this is actually a statutory body under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. This is actually entrusted with the responsibility of formulating as well as implementing all the resolutions relating to any kind of insolvency, and that is basically all the rules and regulations in case of an insolvency case is made by this particular IBBI, that is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, which is a statutory body under the IBC. Next one, it has 10 members. Okay, so these are from ministries of finance, they can be from corporate affairs, and representatives from the RBI also, which are the adjudicating authorities, that is which actually deal with these cases. One is the National Company Law Tribunal. This holds jurisdiction over the companies and the LLPs I told you. Next one is the Debt Recovery Tribunal. This when the individuals and non-LLPs or partnership firms are actually involved. So these are the adjudicating authorities. So here if you see, this is the process. So in case if there is an individual insolvency, or if there is a partnership firm which actually has an insolvency, then the case, if it is actually if the case is actually taken up by an operating creditor, for example, let us actually say, then it goes to the DRT, that is the Debt Recovery Tribunal becomes the adjudicating authority. In case if the ruling is actually not satisfied, then the appeal is taken to the Debt Recovery Appellate Tribunal, further which it is actually taken to the Supreme Court. Similarly, if you see, in case of insolvency of LLPs, that is the limited liability partnerships, or if the corporate insolvency or the corporates actually fail, what happens? In that case, the case is actually adjudicated by the NCLT, and followed by which it is actually taken to the NCLAT, that is the National Companies Law Appellate Tribunal, further which it is finally taken to the Supreme Court. Okay, so this is the process, that is the insolvency adjudication process that actually takes place. Now let's quickly see, looking at the insolvency, now we would actually know what are the key issues concerning the implementations of IBC, isn't it? So first one, there are of course delays in the resolution process. Okay, that is, at least in 2023 or 22-23 period, it was around 654 days. Now it has actually further increased to around 716 days. But according to the IBC, the mandated time was only 330 days. So here there is actually delay. So why there is a delay? Because one of the major reasons is there is overburdening of the tribunals. Okay, so there is heavy caseload of NCLT and NCLAT, which actually deals with both the insolvency cases as well as the Companies Act. Next one, there are vacant positions that are actually lying vacant. So 50% of the sanctioned judicial positions are vacant, and also there is no system for urgent hearing requests. So cases which are of urgent in nature, there is no particular procedure or system where these are heard first. So what does this happen is that this delay actually leads to the depreciation in the value of the asset, and that actually reduces the creditor confidence. Okay, so this is number one. Number two, if we see, there is low recovery rates and high haircuts. So what do you mean by haircuts? Let's read this. Haircuts 95%, with some cases recovering as little as 0.92 of the total claims. So what is this? For example, if the bank has actually given the company X 100 crores, okay, and the company is able to pay back to the bank only 40 crores. So what happens is that there is a haircut of 60%. Okay, so 95%, it actually goes to 95%. Okay, so that is the case of insolvency in India, is what they are saying. So there are key challenges, that is, there is lack of effective valuation methods. Okay, so fair and liquidation values are often underestimated. Then also there are delayed recognition of defaults because of lengthy processes, and this actually leads to the erosion of asset values, we already saw. Next, dominance of secured creditors. Okay, so here financial creditors get the recovery first. That is what happens, whatever is a recovery that is actually taken up, here the financial creditors take first. Okay, and then only the operational creditors who supply the goods and services on a day-to-day basis that is required to run the business, then only they get it. And what is the impact? Here, banks recover an average of only 10 to 15% of the admitted claims, and this actually is further straining the financial sector, and this further discourages lending of the banks in the future. Now, what is the next issue? Next one is institutional capacity deficiencies. That is, even when the hiring actually takes place to fill the vacancies, what happens is that the appointments to the NCLT and the NCLAT, they actually do not actually have specific knowledge expertise, and this also leads to so many times misinterpretation of complex financial cases. Next one, the judicial discretion. That is, the Supreme Court has criticized the tendency of the tribunals to extend timelines, making the process ineffective. Okay, if you further extend the timelines by 90 more days, then what happens? It's again going to be ineffective. Next one, there are bureaucratic hurdles, as we already see, that further is going to lead to inefficiency. So, lack of specialized knowledge will result in inconsistent decisions and diminished investor confidence. Okay. Now moving forward, let us actually see limited use of ADR. that is alternate dispute resolution mechanism. So what do you mean by this? Out of the tribunal, you actually deal with the cases out of these particular NCLT, NCLAT, DRT, etc. But there is actually over reliance on tribunal based proceedings only, that is mediation and the alternate dispute resolution is actually not taken into consideration. So this further burdens the tribunals and prolongs the resolution timelines. Okay, now moving forward, next one is we do not have a proper, clear, comprehensive framework. So that is obviously a problem. Next one, there are jurisdictional conflicts also in dealing with the multinational creditors and the debtors. When there is cross-border insolvency, that is when the assets or the creditors is actually shared or it is present over two different countries, then the problem is further exacerbated. So here, in that case, India will fail to attract the investments, okay, to attract the foreign investments due to uncertainty in resolving the cross-border insolvency cases. Now, let's move forward. So what are the MSME challenges? This is the final challenge. MSMEs are actually treated as the operational creditors. Okay, so I told you the financial creditors only actually get much of the money when there is liquidation of any company. So that is why this is a major challenge, because the MSMEs actually form the economic backbone of India, but these are actually facing survival challenges due to the financial distress, okay, and inadequate safeguard. So this is also one of the major issues. Okay, so now what can be the way forward? What can be the way forward? The first thing is that you can have increased tribunal capacity. So you can further increase the appointment of experienced professionals and retired high court judges who can solve these cases better. Then create a dedicated IBC benches in NCLT to address the pending cases. The next one can be improve the infrastructure and introduce digital solutions for case management. Next one is stronger creditor rights and haircut regulations. There have to be benchmark rates, or you can say there has to be benchmark haircut regulations, and there has to be transparency and accountability in the resolution process. Next one, adoption of alternate dispute resolution. So apart from over relying on the tribunals, we need to go for mediation as well as alternate dispute resolution mechanism, and also facilitate out of court settlements for smaller cases. The next one is cross-border insolvency reforms. Okay, so we need to implement a comprehensive cross-border insolvency framework aligned with international best practices. So one of the best international one of the best cited examples of international practice for cross-border insolvency is the UN Citral. So we have discussed already about this in one of our videos. This is nothing but the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. So this actually came into existence in 1997. It provides a streamlined framework for cross-border insolvency. Okay, so this also provides accessibility to the foreign companies to access the local courts. Okay, and also this also benefits because it recognizes the foreign proceedings, and also there is judicial cooperation and coordination between different jurisdictions. So UN Citral is one of the best examples. Okay, now let us actually move forward. So having discussed all this, so we have actually discussed about what is insolvency, what is bankruptcy, and what is liquidation. And in order to deal with all this, we required an insolvency regulation in India. So how it was earlier fragmented, that actually resulted in the formation of IBC 2016. What were the different provisions? What were the different sections? Sections 9, section 7, as well as section 242. We actually discussed about it. And also we saw what were the various institutional challenges that these NCLT and NCLAT actually had faced with respect to that of their appointments, the vacancy, the expertise in knowledge, etc. And finally, we looked at what are the different way forwards, including adopting the universal or international best practices, that is the UN Citral. Okay, so that UN Citral model has actually been adopted by over 50 countries worldwide, including the best developed countries like US, UK, Singapore, etc. So India also should actually take inspiration from that and adopt one. Okay, now let us actually move forward to the next topic. The next topic is ASEAN tells Myanmar Junta to prioritize ceasefire. So here we'll be discussing about India-ASEAN relations, as well as it's a part of the regional grouping. It's important for both your prelims under current events of national and international importance, as well as mains under bilateral, regional and global groupings and agreements involving India and or affecting India's interests. Okay. Now moving forward, there has been a PYQ, that is, which of the following are the free trade partners of ASEAN? So who are the members of ASEAN? Who are the free trade partners of ASEAN? With, combined together, what are they actually called? All that is very, very important. So we'll be discussing that as well in this particular article. So the foreign ministers of ASEAN grouping had actually asked the Myanmar's junta to prioritize the ceasefire in its civil war over the free election. So in Myanmar, the government was actually outthrown by the military coup that is called as the junta. Okay. So now the junta, rather than focusing on establishing a ceasefire with respect to that of the civil war, they are focusing on conducting fresh elections all over again. So the ASEAN grouping actually have come together and decided, or they have actually proposed to Myanmar in order to actually what? To focus on the ceasefire. So here what becomes important is the discussion about ASEAN. So ASEAN was actually a regional cooperation, or you can say it's a regional organization that was established in the year 1967 by 5 Southeast Asian countries. It includes Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore and Thailand. Very, very important. The founding members are very, very important. The members that actually joined lately, whether India is a founding member or not, or India, whether it is actually one of the FTA members of ASEAN or not, you need to know. Okay, what is the purpose of this organization? It's a regional organization that focused on fostering economic as well as security cooperation. Members are 10 in number, that include Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, as well as Vietnam. Very important. Here, the chairmanship is actually rotating. So, who holds the current chair of ASEAN? It is Malaysia. Okay, so that is why this meeting was also held in Malaysia. So Malaysia is the current chair. And also the secretariat is actually headquartered in Jakarta, that is Indonesia. And the economic strength is, if you consider the entire ASEAN, that is the 10 members as one particular country, it is actually the 7th largest economy in the world. And by 2050, it is estimated to become the 4th largest economy. It has a combined GDP of around 2.6 trillion US dollars. So this is what is very, very important for you to understand. Now moving forward, it actually has a population of 622 million. Okay, that is, the population is actually more than that of the North Americas as well as the European Union, and also it has the largest workforce, that is the world's 3rd largest workforce behind China and India. And also, if you see, these are the group of ASEAN nations. Okay, there are 10 members. So again, very, very important. All the straits and all the seas that are actually encircling this also become important. Now let's see what is the role in global trade. So ASEAN actually has free trade agreements with 6 of the members, 6 of the regional economies. Who are the economies? First one is China. Next one is Japan. Then we have Republic of Korea. Then you have India. Then you have Australia. And finally, you have New Zealand. So these are the 6 countries that ASEAN actually has FTAs with, and combined together, that is the 16 members, 10 ASEAN members along with these 6 members actually together comprise the RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. This actually focuses on the trade in goods and services and also intellectual property. Okay, so this is what is important. In that, India is actually a part. So this you need to know. Now moving forward, we've seen this, yeah. So now moving forward, what is the significance for ASEAN? What is the significance of ASEAN for India? So if you're not able to see this, excuse me. Yeah, let me pull this closer. Yeah. So here, first one, there are cultural connections. Okay. So there have been strong historical and cultural bonds, including the spread of Hinduism, Buddhism, etc., and language influences. And also, both ASEAN and India actually focus on one strategy, that is the Indo-Pacific strategy. Just a minute. Yeah, so they actually focus on the Indo-Pacific strategy, that is India's Act East policy and Indo-Pacific strategy. Both of them actually have, I'm sorry for the throat. Yeah, Act East policy and Indo-Pacific strategy are there. Next is they want to, combinedly counter China's influence. Okay. Next one, ASEAN's market potential. So, ASEAN is the world's third largest market, offering significant export opportunities for India. And also, there are number of developmental projects that India has actually signed with that of the ASEAN countries in order to develop the Northeast states. Okay. So, this is the significance of ASEAN for India. Now let us see what have been the India's ties and what is the status of India's ties with ASEAN over the years. Yeah, let us actually continue. What is the kind of ties that India has been sharing with that of ASEAN? So, the ties have, if you see the political ties, it has always been friendly as well as cooperative. And also, both of us, we actually share the common perspectives on regional and global issues like, we need to protect the Indo-Pacific. We need to counter the China's increasing influence in the Indo-Pacific region and the South China Sea. And also India has been an active participant of ASEAN related reforms such as the ASEAN Regional Forum, the ASEAN Defense Minister Meeting and East Asia Summit. And also in 2012, India actually established the partnership with ASEAN as the strategic partnership. And this was further escalated to the status of comprehensive strategic partnership in 2022. And also, if you know, India had actually come up with the Act East policy, right? So this was actually it was put forward in 2014. So this has been the tie, that is with respect to political tie between India and ASEAN. Also, if you see with respect to tourism, India has been one of the first dialogue partners in order to sign a memorandum of understanding on strengthening the tourism cooperation with ASEAN. Also, if you see economic ties, we saw, right, it is the third largest market. So it is very important for us. And also ASEAN ranks among major trading partners. And also if you see, ASEAN India agreements on trade and services and investments actually came up in 2015. And then moving forward, India has also a CECA. What do you mean by CECA? Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement with several ASEAN countries. Okay, so what are the countries is the home that you need to do. Now, moving forward, with respect to security and defense, we also conduct a lot of joint naval and military exercises, and the maiden exercise was in 2023. That is, the ASEAN India maritime exercise took place in 2023, and also ASEAN India plan of action in combating transnational crime. You know, India and ASEAN actually collaborate, and this is between 2016 and 2025. So now let us actually move forward. Let us see what are the challenges in India ASEAN relations. Okay, first one, economic and trade relations. So if you're not able to see properly, let me. Okay, so this is how much I'm able to do. Okay, let's do it from here only. So challenges in India ASEAN relations. First one, economic and trade challenges. There have been a lot of trade deficit that India actually faces. That is, the amount it actually imports from ASEAN countries is actually way higher than the output. So there is actually, that is the export. So there is a trade imbalance, and also there is low FDI. So India's foreign direct investment in ASEAN falls behind China. And also we have simultaneous competing agreements, right? Apart from India ASEAN, there are also other agreements, that is the RCEP we saw, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and then one on the Trans-Pacific Partnership. All these are competing with India ASEAN focus. Next one, cooperation and engagement challenges. So it is bilateral versus multilateral. So there is preference for bilateral engagement. This actually weakens the regional integration. Bilateral means you will be only focused on that particular country, right? So there is no multilateral engagement. Also, there is limited connectivity, and also there have been excessive delay in the implementation of the connectivity projects. One is the Kaladan multimodal project, Myanmar. So again, you need to know about what is this one. Next one, the geopolitical and security challenges. Then the Quadrilateral Security Initiative Quad, that is ASEAN, has been reluctant, and this actually affects India's security goals towards Quad. Next one, Indo-Pacific rivalry, that is, there is a lot of competition between the major powers, and this actually destabilizes this particular region. And finally, increasing presence or dominance of China in this particular region, which limits India's potential in this particular region. So now moving forward, let us actually quickly move to the next article. That is, what did the ILO report state about the international migrants? So here we'll be talking about ILO and key findings from the report. This is important for both the prelims as well as mains under important international institutions, agencies, the structure and the mandate. Now moving forward, there has already been a question on ILO conventions 138 and 182 are related to which of the following. So you need to know about these conventions, whether India has actually ratified or signed that convention or not is what you need to know. Now moving forward, here the ILO has recently come up with the global estimates on international migrant workers. So this actually gives the status of the international migrants in the global labor workforce in 2022. So let us actually quickly see what is ILO. This was actually established in 1919 under the Treaty of Versailles as a part of League of Nations. So you need to know what is this League of Nations, whether this got replaced by the United Nations or not, all that you need to know. And after that, it actually got the United Nations affiliation. That is, it became the first specialized agency of the United Nations in 1946, headquartered in Geneva. It has 187 member states and 186 of the 193 UN member states plus the Cook Islands. What is the mission? To promote social justice and internationally recognized human and labor rights. It has also been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1969 for improving peace among social classes, advocating decent work and justice for workers, and also providing technical assistance to the developed nation. So this is all about the ILO. Moving forward, if we see, India has been a founding member of ILO. Okay, of the total number of conventions, around 190 conventions, India has ratified 47 conventions, which actually include the areas of child labor, forced labor, etc. Also, India and ILO collaborate for promoting labor rights, improving the labor market governance, address the structure or address issues like the gender inequality, informal economy, etc. What is the working structure or the organizational structure? Is that it works on tripartite principle. That is, it provides equal, or it works on equal representation to who all? Governments, the employers, as well as the workers. And which are the key bodies under it? First one is International Labour Conference. This actually sets the international labor standards and the broad policies. This meets annually in Geneva. Next one is a government body. This is nothing, governing body is nothing but the Executive Council. So this actually comes up with the policies and the budget, and this meets thrice a year. So this becomes very, very important. Now moving forward, then there is an International Labour Office. This is nothing but the permanent secretariat overseeing the day-to-day operations of ILO. Apart from this, ILO also comes up with a number of reports like the World Employment and Social Outlook, the Social Dialogue Report, the Global Employment Trend for Youth, the World Social Protection Report, Global Wage Report, and Global Estimates on International Migrant Workers. This is what we are discussing about right now. So, moving forward, let's see the conventions. So what are the conventions? These are binding agreements. So ILOs are actually come up with the binding agreements, that is the conventions, or the regulations, which are the non-binding guidelines. Okay. So till date, ILO has adopted over 190 conventions, of which I actually told you, right? That is, India has ratified around 47, and also 206 recommendations which are non-binding. 8 of the most important conventions which form the foundation of the international labor standards include Forced Labor Convention, Abolition of Forced Labor Convention, Equal Remunerative Convention, Discrimination Convention, Minimum Age Convention, Worst Forms of Child Labor Convention, Freedom of Association Convention, and the right to organize and collective bargaining convention. Of this, we need to see how many India has actually ratified. India has ratified only 6 of the 8. So what are the 2 that India has not ratified? Is freedom of association and protection of rights to organize. This India has not ratified. Also, this collective bargaining convention, it did not ratify. So India has ratified totally 47 conventions overall when compared to, when you see the 190 conventions. Okay. So now moving forward, let us see what the migrants report or international migrants report, or the observations of the status of international migrants. Okay. So if you see, overall there has been a global increase in the international migrants in labor force. That is 168 million in 2002, an increase of over 30 million. So if you see, in 2022, there has been an increase by 30 million in the international migrants in the labor force. And the total global market migrant stock reached around 285 million, with 255 in working age, that is 15 years and above. If you see regional concentration, people are moving more towards Europe and Central Asia, and then it is followed by America and Asia, and then the Pacific, and finally you have the Arab states with around 13.5, with 32 of them consisting of the foreign migrants. Okay, so these are few of the observation with respect to the global increase and the regional concentration. Now we will see there has been a decline in North America. Okay, so from 23.8 there has been a decline to around 22% because of the shifts in the migration policies. Also, there has been a stable distribution trends. Okay, so over the past decade, if you see, the distribution of international migrants, it remained relatively stable. Mainly if you see northern, southern and western Europe, there has been a marginal increase from 22% to 23% due to the migration policies that is actually aligned with the labor market demands. Okay. So these are few of the observations. Now moving forward, the economic concentration, if you see, 68.5% of the migrant workers are concentrated in the high income countries, and also 17.4 are concentrated in the upper middle income countries. That is, it shows a trend that people, that is the migrants, they actually prefer settling in high income countries for a better quality of life. So this is what is the key observation of this particular report. Now moving forward, let's quickly understand the next article. What is the SWAMITVA scheme and who benefits from it and how? So here we'll be discussing about the SWAMITVA scheme, and this is important for e-governance perspective, applications, model, successes and limitations. If you move forward, see, UPSC generally asks the schemes, okay, the beneficiaries, how India has actually performed, what's the eligibility criteria to be part of it, and what has been the success rate, where has been the pilot phase of the project, how far we have actually come or transcended from the initial phase. All that is important. So similarly, there was a question on government sovereign gold bond scheme and gold monetization scheme. Also on Fasal Bima Yojana, pension scheme. All these are repeatedly asked by the UPSC. So similarly, the SWAMITVA scheme also becomes very, very important. So what is this particular SWAMITVA? Okay, so we need to understand what is SWAMITVA. Okay, so this is survey of villages, okay, and mapping. So what is this? This is survey of villages and mapping with improvised technology in village areas. Okay, so this is what is SWAMITVA scheme. That is, whatever are the land parcels, these are, or whatever are the fragmented lands or the lands that actually belong to the owners, these are surveyed by using drones. And then what happens? The owners are actually issued a property card. So this is what is the SWAMITVA scheme. So under that scheme, 92% of the mapping has been completed, targeting a full coverage of around 3.44 lakh villages by the year 2026. Okay. Now moving forward, let us actually see about the SWAMITVA scheme. So the scheme, actually SWAMITVA stands for Survey of Villages and Yeah, let's continue about the SWAMITVA scheme. So, SWAMITVA actually stands for Survey of Villages and Mapping with Improvised Technology in Village Areas. And this is a central sector scheme, which was actually, it came in the pilot phase in 9 of the states, okay, in 2021 or in the 2020-2021 period. And this actually aims to, that is 2020-21, it actually was established or implemented in pilot phase in 9 of the states. If you see in 9 of the states, like you see Andhra Pradesh, and then you see Madhya Pradesh, you see Karnataka, you see Maharashtra, and then you have Haryana, then all these other states, Uttar Pradesh, etc. So this was the pilot phase, and then it was implemented in the rest of the country in 2021 because it was successful in its initial pilot phase in 9 of the states. The aim was to establish clear ownership of the property in the rural inhabited, that is called as the Abadi areas. Okay, how it is done? They actually map the land parcels using drone technology. After that, what do? They actually provide the record of rights. Okay, that is, they give this to the village household owners. That is nothing but it is like the legal ownership cards or the property cards or the title deeds to the property owners. Okay, so this is how the scheme is all about. So let us actually see. So this is the pilot phase, and now if you actually see, this is a scaling up phase. This is supposed to cover around 6.62 lakh villages in India. Okay, so this is what it is. Now let's move forward. It has been implemented by, that is, it is the central sector scheme by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, but it works in collaboration with the State Revenue Department, the State Panchayati Raj Department, as well as the Survey of India. And also, this aims to achieve Gram Swaraj, independence of the villages, and order, and also aims to make the rural India Atmanirbhar, that is self-reliant. Okay. Now, moving forward, let us actually see the objectives of the scheme. In order to enable efficient rural planning by creation of accurate land records, okay, because here technology, improvised technology of drones is being used. Next one, to aid people to prepare quality Gram Panchayat development plans, because you have accurate data right now with you, and to allot property cards for sourcing the bank loans. Okay, if I want to have some credit or loan for my agriculture land, I can show my property card as the collateral. Next one, to reduce the property related disputes, to determine the property tax in the Gram Panchayats, and also to install nationwide network stations for mapping and location services. So what is the significance? The first one, there will be reformed land governance. Next one, there will be inclusive society. Next is sustainable habitat, which is a part of SDG, right? And also economic growth. If all this is there, what happens is that there will be regulated property market, socio-economic upliftment, there will be better planning and implementation of the programs at the grassroots levels, and finally increase in the property tax will be that is actually collected. So this is what it is. If you have proper data, you will know who are the landowners, so that the property tax will actually be levied. So this is the objectives of the scheme. So this is also similar. So here 6.2 villages will be covered. So 6.2 lakh villages will be covered, and it creates accurate land and reduce property related disputes. Also, this will streamline the planning and the revenue collection and ensure clarity in the property rights in rural areas. It establishes nearly 300 cores. What do you mean by cores? C-O-R-S. This is nothing but it is continuously operating reference stations. So these will be continuously operating in order operating reference stations. Okay. So these will continuously operate, that is, they receive the data from the drones and they provide to the government, okay, in order to record your land. And also land parcels in rural inhabited areas are mapped using this drone technology and course. Next, the scheme will enable creation of better quality Gram Panchayat development plan. So this is all about the SWAMITVA scheme. Now moving to the last article, we'll be discussing about exercise La Peru that has actually been hosted by the French Navy. So here it is important for both prelims as well as the mains examination under various security forces, the agencies and the mandate. So earlier, okay, so let's actually see, since it's a snippet, we don't have a previous year question, but still, if you see the exercises, the Navy, the maritime exercises, the Air Force exercises, all these are very, very favorite questions of the UPSC. So you need to know which country. It is a bilateral exercise between India and which of the other countries, that you need to know, like Desert Eagle, okay, Varuna, all those things. So here, the La Peru 2025 exercise, a multinational naval or a multilateral naval drill is being conducted by 9 Indo-Pacific nations. That includes India from January 16 to 24. Let's quickly go through. So it is a nothing but it is an annual multilateral naval exercise, and this has actually been hosted by France. So if you see, this actually aims to enhance the maritime collaboration as well as security in the Indo-Pacific region. So this is the same formula India also has with respect to that of its security strategy as a part of the Sagar mission. What is Sagar? It is security and growth for all in the region vision. And this focuses on strengthening the maritime cooperation, fostering collaboration in order to ensure a safer and more secure Indo-Pacific region. And then particularly with this particular exercise, it is the 4th edition of the multinational exercise, and the 9 countries which are part of it are India, France, Australia, Canada, Malaysia, Singapore, United Kingdom and United States. And it is conducted in 3 strategic straits connecting the Indian Ocean with the Pacific. What are the straits? One is Strait of Malacca, if you actually see here. Then you have the Sunda Strait over here, Indonesia, and then you have the Lombok Strait. So these straits are becoming, they will be very, very important for your examination, and these actually connect the Indian Ocean to that of the Pacific. Okay, that is why this exercise is actually taking place there. So if you see, is there any Indian naval ship that actually participated? Yes, INS Mumbai. Whereas you see from France, we actually have the carrier strike group, and then it actually includes the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle. And then this actually includes training on the IORIS, is nothing but Indian Ocean Region Information Sharing. And then what are the key areas of focus of this particular exercises? Ensuring maritime safety, also addressing the environmental risks, and then any kind of risk associated with illegal trafficking or illegal activities like the drug trafficking, immigration, or other things, or building illegal infrastructure, and also focuses on interoperability, finally ensuring the regional stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Now moving forward, let us quickly solve a mains practice question. Highlight the concerns associated with the implementation of the IBC 2016 which is hindering its key objective of time bound insolvency resolution. Suggest the key measures. So first you need to give an introduction on what the IBC 2016 aims at. It actually aims at giving a time bound insolvency resolution but faces a number of challenges, right? So what are the challenges? There are delays in the resolution. There are low recovery rates, that is the haircut rates are actually high. Also institutional capacity is limited, and also there is over reliance on the tribunal, so that limited ADR, that is alternate dispute resolution and mediation. Also there are unclear framework, okay, and cross border insolvency. So these are all the points you will discuss over in your body. And finally, when we move forward in the conclusion, we have to say that in order to address all this, we need to strengthen our institutional capacity, promote the ADR, improve the recovery methods, and also we must actually have or draw inspiration from good international practices, of which we saw UN Citral as one of the best examples. Okay, so now let's actually move forward and solve 2 of the questions that has been taken up in your previous DNA video. So with reference to anemia, consider the following. The National Iron Plus Initiative in India focuses on preventing anemia among women and children by providing iron and folic acid supplements. Yes, this is a direct statement. If you see the PIB website, you can see Next one, capillary blood samples, that is the finger prick method used in this NFHS, can sometimes overestimate the prevalence of. Yes, because it cannot give you the exact amount of hemoglobin. So it can actually sometimes overestimate also. So this is also correct. So since both the statements are correct, your correct answer will be option C. I'm sorry for that. The next one, consider the following statements. India's road transport sector contributes to around 12% of the country's energy related carbon dioxide emissions. Very important. All the important sectors, manufacturing and services sector, agriculture, how much they contribute to the carbon emissions become very, very important. So if you see, particularly road transport contributes exactly around 12% of the energy related carbon dioxide emission, and 100% FDI is allowed under automatic route in the automobile sector. So since both the statements are correct, we will say the correct answer is option C. Now moving forward, these are the questions for today. So the term RCEP often that actually appears in the news in the context of the affairs of a group of which of the following groups: G20, ASEAN, SCO, SARC. We already saw this. So we actually want you to visit our website, the link of which is actually provided in the comment section below. Please go there. Please do attend the quiz in order to self-analyze on as to how you have actually performed in these MCQs. Okay. So the next question is about which ministry is responsible for implementing the SWAMITVA scheme. Since it actually focuses on village area, people will make mistake that it is by the Ministry of Rural Development. No, we discussed it is by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. But please do go visit the website and solve the question. Next one is with respect to the ILO with 4 different statements on where is the headquarters, whether it is a specialized agency of the United Nations, and who are the founding members, whether India is a founding member of ILO or not, what are the conventions or the principle on which it actually works, the tripartite principle, all that has been discussed over here. So with this, we've actually come to the conclusion of our DNA discussion. So for further updates as well as interesting live sessions, please do like, share and subscribe to Narayana IAS Academy YouTube channel. Thank you and we'll meet you soon.